step forward, punch, pivot, punch. So I'm gonna turn this, right? And my arm is gonna go straight up like that, right? That's really it. And if you look at that, that's kind of at a right angle, straight up, bang, right on the jaw. I tell you, taking this is, you don't have to end up all the way there, but don't do this, right? This is what you call an arm punch, right? All right, morning everyone. I hope you're doing well today on this absolutely glorious day here in New York City. Thank you very much for tuning in. Shout out to all the subscribers. Gratitude to anybody new. Welcome along. This video, we're going to be talking about the beauty of an uppercut. All right, I'm going to talk to you from a beginner's perspective and show you how to throw it. I'll give you the nuances and some scientific guidance on the actual punches and what punches are involved, and you know how to throw it from a basic standpoint. I'm going to use loads of different camera angles and zoom in and really run it through from the ground up so you have a firm understanding of exactly, you know, what an uppercut does, how dangerous they are, how bad they are to get hit with, how to defend against them, and just the, you know, the sheer beauty of the punch. Let's go. Boxing. All right, so an uppercut, obviously, I'm sure you're fully aware that it is the rear uppercut I'm really talking about. I'm going to talk about the lead uppercut a little bit as well. I'm certainly going to cover as many bases as I can, but the rear uppercut, you know, the timing of this punch is very, very important because it is a little far away. It can be a little dangerous, and if you get the throw wrong, you could be in big trouble because it is a little risky sometimes, you know, because, you know, it's like the backhand as well. You kind of can leave yourself a little bit open, right? So, and you have to really try and work your way in to set the actual punch up unless you're on the inside, right? On the inside, I'm not going to go into it too much because that is a different style of fighting. This channel is for beginners. But if you are on the inside, you know, just a short little uppercut like that, bang, bang, is all you really need, you know? It can be such a beautiful, flashy punch. But it also can be just a tidy, neat punch as well. It really depends what kind of energy you're going to put into the punch, which is what makes it so beautiful in my opinion. You know, there's few things more beautiful in the world to me than a beautiful uppercut, especially watching it in a pro fight and you just see the rhythm and the energy thrown into it, the timing, the power. We're going to get into that as well, where the power comes from, how the weight transfer occurs. Some of this is going to be a little bit higher level, but I'm going to make sure we target the beginners here. So let's get into the technique of it. Okay, so again, as I said, I'm talking about the rear uppercut, which is actually number 6, right? The backhand uppercut. If you're a southpaw, don't worry. We don't need to give southpaws any more advantages, but I'm just kidding. It is your backhand here. It's going to be your left hand, and that is actually a massive weapon for southpaws, but more on that later. Right, as always, a good stance. This is absolutely imperative. Anyone that's watched the channel knows how big anybody that's learning boxing should understand that this is a key part of anything. Your foundation, your base, your shape, your construct has to be good. It has to be balanced. It has to be, you know, relaxed as well. I'm going to make another video on the stance, go into more detail. I have made a video, go and check that out. But get relaxed, you know, shoulders, you don't want them too square on. You want your knees bent, you want your chin tucked nicely. Hands on your chin, elbows on your rib cage, right? And you know, we're just going to simplify this because a lot of times punches can be quite simple, and I've been chatting to a couple of people in the comments, and I really appreciate people reaching out and, you know, saying that, you know, my work was easy to understand, and that means a lot to me. And I'm going to try to really focus on that and bring another camera angle to really show you what you're doing, because sometimes when you simplify punches, it can really make the beginner understand that you can do it today, and I'm going to show you. Right, so good stance, nice and relaxed. If you look at my lead shoulder, it's out front, my back shoulder's here, and I'm right here, and I'm already in a great position. And really and truly a simple uppercut, right? I'm going to turn my hips here. This is without me even throwing the punch, right? This is going to turn here. You can turn the foot if you want, you don't always have to. And then I'm going to turn that at the same time, right? And that's just a short, tidy little uppercut, you know, going like that, boom. I'm pretty sure as a beginner, you can do that. Now, one mistake a lot of beginners do make is they'll try and lunge the uppercut back, right? And there is a time and a place for that. That's called a bolo uppercut, right? You know, like I'll show you a couple of clips in a little bit, but I want to focus on the technique, right? Don't drop it back so much. And again, I want to stress that there is a time and a place for that. But for now, if you're just learning, you don't need to drop it back. You just come from here. If you watch my hand from here, let me zoom in actually. I find zooming in really helps because it can really show you just the trajectory. You know, obviously my legs are out of the picture, but I'm gonna zoom back out for that. But from right here, I'm gonna turn this, right? And my arm is gonna go straight up like that, right? That's really it. And if you look at that, that's kind of at a right angle, straight up, bang, right on the jaw. I tell you, taking uppercuts is not fun at all. If you don't see those, which a lot of times you don't because of the trajectory they're coming from, right? They're coming from down here. You catch one of those shots into your chin without seeing it, you better have your mouthpiece bitten down because that stuff, even if you do, they hurt, man. Uppercuts, brutal. Anyway, yeah, nice and relaxed right here. And if you just look at this simple turn, right, that's all I'm doing, boom, like that. And when you're practicing, don't try and do that, right? Because chances are you're gonna mess the technique up. The speed's gonna be like, you know, you're trying to get too much speed, you're trying to get too much power. The muscle coordination, which is the rhythm, which is this, right? You wanna be loose, boom, like that. I'd rather you do that 100 times and get that right than do that and get that a few times but feel more powerful and speedy. Get the technique down, I cannot stress it enough. As slow as you have to go before you can build it back up. Man, it's like, you know, I don't play golf, but I might go to the driving range once every 5 years or something, right? And the first thing I'm trying to do is just smash the ball as hard as I can. You might get one or two that fly off and you're like, oh yeah. But in reality, the consistency is gonna be massively lacking. It's like that with punching. So focus on good technique, right? Focus on staying relaxed. Focus on watching the shoulder, right? Check out the shoulder. This is, you don't have to end up all the way there, but don't do this, right? This is what you call an arm punch, right? That's just moving the arm. That's not really gonna do anything unless you're right on the inside, right? Time and a place for that, boom, like that. I can shoot a short one on the inside, but for now, as a beginner, you wanna try and turn. This shoulder's gonna come back, right? Again, I'll do it without punching, here, and then you just throw a nice, tidy little shot in, getting the right angle up like that, right? So the power travels through the two bones here, travels through your arm and through the big bones here, and that's bang, and that's getting the most amount of the power. You combine that with turning the foot, sitting down on the punch. I'm gonna show you that right now, actually. So this is what I was talking about. I'm actually gonna bring you a clip up, and then I'll talk about how to defend it because it's actually one of the harder punches to defend. But if you look at this clip here, Cuban boxers, man, I love watching Cuban boxers. Definitely an acquired taste because they are really practicing the art form beautifully, you know, hit and not get hit. That is the art of boxing. And this clip I'm gonna show you, I'll show you a couple. Is Rigondeaux, who had an amazing uppercut, and he was an amazing counter puncher, beautiful footwork, amazing thinker, beautiful boxer. The clip I'm showing you now is just him, you know, throwing a nasty uppercut. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it for me, is that motion where he just steps back. He's a southpaw and he's just like bang, a hard shot. Because when you're coming in, if an opponent's coming in on you, you can slip to the side and bang, and they're walking in on the shot, so they're getting double the amount of power onto their face, basically. But Erislandy Lara, another Cuban, he's actually fighting Yuri Foreman in this, and I actually trained with Yuri Foreman for many years in Gleason's gym. He was a world champion. I didn't spar with him or nothing like that. I was just in the gym. I was very green at the time, but I was able to be there watching, you know, a world champion in the making, really. It was a blessing for me. Very grateful for that. So anyone who wants to know, you know, my experience, I was still, you know, a novice. I had a few fights in the amateurs, but I was always around some top fighters. Amateurs, from pros, world champions, world level fighters, world level trainers, trainers that have trained world champions, and I was always picking their brains and watching them train. And Yuri Foreman was one of them. He's a wonderful guy. He actually fought Miguel Cotto in New York a long time ago. Well, not that long ago. Anyway, where was I? I'll digress a little bit. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, Lara, right? I'm gonna do it from an orthodox position, but he's in a southpaw just because I can't do southpaw. But if you look at here, right, he just takes a little step back, right?
Look here at the action, perfectly timed.
And he plants his foot, right?
He told us he counted 10.
And you know what was so devastating about that punch? It was hidden.
And that's the thing about an uppercut, is when you drop down like this, I can just spring back up with so much more power.
Look here at the action, perfectly timed. coming in and rips him with an uppercut.
Boom, like that, boom, boom. And he turns his foot and drives it back up. So what he's doing, he's transferring the weight, right? He's slipping the punch, or he's stepping back a little bit out of range from the punch. Meeting the ground. I always talk about the ground and the relationship you should have with the ground. It is your best friend because you can use it to such amazing, beautiful weight transfers, right? So he bites down and he turns, and at the same time, boom, the beauty of an uppercut. Let's talk about how to defend an uppercut, right? Because it's actually a very difficult punch to defend if you think about it. One, if I'm here, I'm trying to see where the punches are coming from, but the peripheral is coming from down here, right? So if I'm looking, you know, roughly, you know, when you're boxing, you really want to look in someone's eyes or chest area. It really depends. I've heard a lot of different trainers say either or, you know, I'm not sure this is definitely a wrong or right, but definitely this area right here. Whatever you're focused on, it's kind of going to be up here. So your punches from down here will come out of nowhere, right? So when you're defending uppercuts, a good thing to do is just, you want to just turn your body like this, a little bit like defending body shots, really. I made a video on that. I'll leave that in the link below. I just made a video on that, and it's very similar, right? So if an uppercut's coming through here, I'm going to just turn this. It depends where it's coming from, and I'm going to turn this, or I can shut my shell up like that completely, right? But then, you know, I have more difficulty seeing. There's another way of doing it. This is called trapping, right? Where I can trap the shot like that, where I'll show you a clip of Brian Mendoza when he trapped an uppercut from Sebastian Fondora and then came back with a massive hook and knocked him out. But that's high level stuff, you know. But as a basic beginner, obviously you want to turn this uppercut coming from here, turn that. I'll just do it from the side. Boom here, boom here. You got to have good base, good balance. Yeah, you got to have good base, good balance, right, to be able to do these maneuvers so you're not out of position. You know, you can hear, I can do this, can shut down here. I'm catching the shot here, catching the shot there. It really depends on where your opponent's coming from, where the shots are coming from, stuff like that, you know, because taking an uppercut, as I said, I'll tell you a little story. I used to spar loads of guys, but this trainer, he's a pro at the time. He took it light on me, quote unquote, but he still beat the absolute shit out of me. Shout out to Devon. He was a short fighter, more of a kickboxing guy, right? I was still green at the time, but I just could not see where these damn uppercuts were coming from, right? Bam, like that, and it shoots your head back. And as I said, you don't see it. The shots that you don't see are the ones that hurt the most. And from that day on, I was like, I've got to learn how to block these shots. So, you know, you got to obviously not be a stationary target. You know, moving around is always good. You blocking like this, and you know, figuring out your opponent's rhythm and timing too. Speaking of timing, throwing an uppercut, right? Let's just talk about that quickly, as I did a minute ago with the Cuban boxer. But if you're just trying to land an uppercut, right, as I said, you got to be a little bit careful, because you do leave yourself wide open, right, for whatever punches, you know, your opponent, depending on what stance they're in, you are kind of open, especially if you do a long coming like that, right? Look how much time I've got here. So this one, you better make sure that you land that, or, and this is another thing that beginners might not need to know about, but also it doesn't hurt to know, is what is happening after the punch, right? If I'm coming in here like that with a massive uppercut, I better make sure I'm gonna roll out the way or step in and smother or do something, because if you get caught missing a massive shot like that, you could pay for it. But then there's obviously shorter shots like that. You could set it up, right? I could set it up with the jab, another beautiful punch, but the jab, I've done a video called Work the Jab. I'm gonna make another one, part 2, maybe today actually. If there's space over there, I'll probably go over and do the same thing today. I really wanna make this channel as good as I can. Very grateful for people that are tuned in, especially now. But yeah, uppercut. Practicing it, right? This is what I would recommend, right? Okay, if you're just learning, I would stay in one place, right? As I always try to say, don't try and move around unless you really know what you're doing, and you know, you have the technique down a little bit, because you're gonna have to move eventually. But if you're just trying to learn the technique, just stay right here and just try to get this, right? Try to get that consistently. Boom. The lead uppercut is a little harder. You need a bit more space, right? Maybe I'll do a separate video on that, because this is really about the rear uppercut. But you know, boom, 2 uppercuts here, here, here. Look at the shoulders back here, boom, all right? Shoulder, shoulder. Put some footwork in it, step forward, make sure your feet are set, punch, step to the side, punch, step back, punch, pivot, punch, step forward, punch, step forward, punch, pivot, punch, step back, punch. The point of that drill is to make sure that you have your good stance and good base set before you punch, right? For example, if I'm doing that and I'm punching before my feet are set, you're not gonna have any power, you're not gonna be in position to punch properly, and you're not gonna be, you know, boxing properly, basically, right? You gotta have your feet set, it's very important, right? So I'm here, step forward, punch, pivot, punch, step forward, punch, step back, punch. You get my point. Anyway, it's such a beautiful day today, man. I can make this video for hours. Anyway, I'm gonna get this up. Very grateful for people tuned in. Like I said, smash the like button if you enjoyed it. It's got to come from here, the center of your chest. And you know, if you really enjoyed the video, subscribe. Really appreciate it. I've got loads of content coming every single day. I'm gonna try and put out some content. And let me know in the comments if there's something you want me to cover. I've got a video coming up on what type of gloves to wear. I'll try to answer as many questions as I can that come at me. If I forget, you know, apologies, but I'm really reading everything and trying to respond to everybody. So, you know, because I really want people to get the best out of themselves. You know, that's what this channel is about. Be your best. My name's Henry Boxing Age. Thank you for watching.
Boxing.
On it is.